Who's telling you to stop?
This is gobbledygook.
If Mark is truly gone, I am in need of an avatar. Would you?
Are you trying to torture me?
So I get to go on to eternal peace and he just stays lost in the sand forever? No, I'm not good with that.
How could you do this?
I have a fabulous costume.
You are basically the same bitch. I'm gonna love you till I die. I can't even whack off on the side. I think about myself. I don't like it.
Hello Moon Knight fans, thanks so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris. Episode 6 of Moon Knight has finally landed online. This does mark it as the finale either for this season or the series entirely. We're going to discuss that potential for sure. And look, I'm just going to be straightforward with you guys. If you were hoping I was going to get up here, jump on the table and talk about how Moon Knight was the best finale I ever saw, best MCU show 100% confirmed until the next MCU show, of course. That's not what's going to be happening here. I'm going to be completely honest with my thoughts on this finale, because look, your boy's a little unsatisfied. To me, Marvel did it once again where they just had a clunky finale where they tried stuffing in so much into the final episode that was actually the shortest episode of the entire season. I know lately it's become such a huge no-no to say anything critical of Marvel because people just love the brand so much, and I love Marvel. So I do want to make it clear, just because there were a couple of things in this finale that I wasn't 100% loving, the show as a whole, I was still very happy with. I thought they did some amazing things. Oscar Isaac's performance brought this show to a whole nother level. Not to mention, Marvel took big risks with making major changes to Moon Knight, and for the most part, they paid off to me. But I'd be lying to you guys if when this episode didn't end, I went, nah, this is a joke, right? There's still like 20 minutes left of this thing. It's over? Oh, gee, Jolly, it was great. I love this episode. Best MCU show ever! There, you got what you wanted. So please, I'd love to hear from you guys as well, because I'm already seeing people saying that this was a perfect finale, that everything about it was exactly what they wanted, and this is the best MCU show. So I know there's already going to be people disagreeing with me or hitting that dislike button just because we have a different opinion. But hey, that's the beauty of fandom, so I definitely want to hear from you guys. Did you like this finale? Was it clunky for you? Do you think Marvel needs to do something differently? Because these finales, they seem to have the same problem. But jumping straight into episode 6 of Moon Knight, we open up basically in what is still considered the real world, with Harrow having shot Mark and Steven and leaving him for dead, collecting Amit and heading off his way to go ahead and free her. Luckily, we have seen though, Layla is a very capable person and decides to impersonate one of Harrow's men, tagging along, trying to figure out what exactly she can do to stop him. And I gotta be honest with you guys, right away, I was already feeling something weird was going on with this finale, because the pacing of this was just not feeling right. Like, it was all just happening a little too fast, and I thought Layla was just being able to get away with everything so smoothly with making herself part of the gang. And even though I flinched at first whenever Tuerek came to life and took over the body of some of these dead people, I was like, what is happening here? We have to remember this Hippo God is essentially a brand new character for the MCU. There's no real comic history, and although she's an actual figure in mythology, Marvel had the freedom to do whatever they wanted here, and so the goddess who is in charge of the afterlife being able to take over the bodies of people after they've passed away, I thought that was a cool touch, even if this looked kind of funny and like it was dead Freddie Mercury talking to Layla telling her what to do. Bringing us to the pyramids, where the avatars find out that Mark and Khonshu were correct, that Harrow was resurrecting Amit, paying the price with their lives, and being able to finally see Amit in the flesh. And you know, some people have been really complaining about the visual effects throughout the series of Moon Knight, but I think all the budget must have gone to Amit, because I think she looks really great. But then we get to the conversation that Harrow and Amit have, and again, this is where the show was just kind of losing me, and it felt like rush writing or things that needed to happen so that they can end this season or series. Where Amit, her whole belief is if your scales are not balanced because you've committed crime or you will commit crime, she will have to punish you. But because Harrow was the one to resurrect her, Amit was like, nah, you know what? I'm not gonna get rid of you. I already worked with someone whose scales were balanced. That didn't work out for me. Should kind of let me know my logic and form of thinking isn't completely correct if it works against me. So even though your scales are unbalanced and that goes against everything I stand for and am fighting for, I'm gonna keep you alive. MCU finales, y'all. But again, it's like we're on the final episode. They want to make it the shortest episode. We don't have time to flesh that out, explain things, so it just has to happen, them working together. While all that's going on, we cut to Layla, who finally finds Khonshu, and once Khonshu is brought back, Layla has a full-on conversation with Khonshu, and this is actually something I kind of like. We have had Khonshu threaten Mark that if he is no longer fit to do the job, he is going to pursue Layla into being Moon Knight, and even Layla got upset earlier in the series when she found out that Mark kind of gave Khonshu the answer for her, saying it wasn't his decision to make, making us kind of wonder, oh, so does she want to be Moon Knight? But here she makes it clear as day. It's like, no, I see the torture you put Mark through. You think I would want to sign up for that? We'll stop Amit and Harrow, but without being conjoined or your avatar. From there, we cut back to the Fields of Reeds, where Mark has entered paradise, but because he is there without Steven, he rejects it all, and apparently you can just decide to leave heaven. That was just another thing on the show that was kind of bugging me. That's like, really, after everything as complicated as it was in the afterlife, with having to balance your scales, going room to room, fighting these afterlife monsters, and all of a sudden you can just turn around and leave without any other problem. These were the things that felt really odd or out of place to me and rushed, just because it's the finale. We don't have time to flesh these things out. But like I said, not everything in the finale was unsatisfying to me, because I love this moment here between Mark and Steven, where he decides to basically give up on heaven and paradise in hopes to somehow resurrect Steven. But it is a little ominous and confusing why doing this can grant them their life back. We all thought it was going to be Khonshu who was going to be responsible for resurrecting Mark and Steven, when it looks like they didn't really need Khonshu after all. Or maybe it's the fact that since Khonshu is out there, now Steven can be resurrected, since the Moon Knight powers are up for grabs. But this is all stuff we have to kind of make up or deal with on our own, because the show doesn't take the time to flesh it out and explain it. But bringing us back to Earth, where Khonshu and Amit are having a face-to-face disagreeing with what exactly her plans are for Earth, we get a little battle of the gods going on here that I gotta admit was pretty cool, and was only a taste of what we were gonna get in this episode. But the battle is interrupted once Khonshu feels the life presence of Mark and Steven, deciding to go to him to figure out what exactly they can do to stop Amit. And here's more stuff I actually like from the finale, where they actually gave us Mark and Steven working together and switching back and forth right in front of our eyes. I thought that was a really cool touch and showed you just a great progression of their characters, willing to share the body and give each other a voice when needed. It's even here where they strike a deal with Khonshu, saying if they can go ahead and defeat Harrow, Khonshu will go ahead and let Steven and Mark go as the avatar. Here's then where we cut to Layla still trapped inside the pyramid, trying to figure out exactly what to do to stop Amit, not realizing that Mark and Steven are alive and are gathering a plan of their own.
Toilet.
Bringing us to what I think ultimately was one of the biggest surprises of the finale, is that Layla gets superpowers and becomes an avatar herself. Now again, like with this finale, I have mixed feelings on it, because one, I think it's so badass that Layla gets powers. Even whenever her costume was revealed, I remember saying to myself, oh, that looks alright, not as cool as the Moon Knight suit, and then her wings popped out and I was like, oh, never mind, this is badass. That's a really cool suit, and I'm very happy for Layla. I think the way in which it happened, just again, felt rushed and didn't make sense with the character. We just had her denying wanting to be an avatar, knowing it could be a real strain and almost a life sentence if you accept something like that. And although us, the audience, has already met this hippo god in previous episodes and know she's basically a good person and not as bad as Khonshu, where she would trick her, Layla is not aware that she just met this god a few times, and every time it's her resurrecting a dead body. It's just one of those things again that felt rushed in this finale, and like it just needed to happen because we want a big epic fight scene with Moon Knight and Layla fighting people. Especially when you could have done something really beautiful in the moment, wherever she's learning that her father is in the Fields of Reeds, is in heaven, would be proud of Layla, and it's all just kind of played up for a laugh with her jumping back and forth. In the previous couple of episodes, they just took that so seriously with the death of her father, and this just kind of felt out of tone.
I will explain everything, I swear, but we have to go.
Did you kill Abdullah El Fuli, my father?
Yes, I I met him when I took him to the field of reeds.
But then again, I know this is where some of you guys who love this finale and thought it was perfect are gonna be like, Chris, you're complaining too much. We had freaking kaijus battling. Oh, I know, and that was freaking awesome. The moment Amit started rising up, I was like, oh my god, they just went full Power Rangers on us. And then cutting back and forth with Khonshu and Amit fighting it out, giant style. Oh yeah, that was awesome. Almost as awesome as Mark and Steven working together in the MoonKnight body, something I was hoping to see this series. Them just actually going ahead and taking bad guy down after bad guy, with so many great moments in between where like Mark has to switch out of his costume because a guy's pulling his cape, but Steven's costume has no cape, so that works out for him. Even Steven's confidence building throughout the season and him actually being capable of fighting now. Oh, it was so awesome to see, and for sure satisfying. The finale wasn't 100% unsatisfying for me. This is the stuff I was wanting to see, and I'm glad they delivered. I thought even Layla and the way her fight scenes were going down was really cool. It felt like they were trying to do kind of like a Wonder Woman thing with her, and it was kind of working for me. I think there's a lot of really unique things they could do with this if she decides to keep those powers and start working alongside MoonKnight. But you gotta admit, even if you're someone who absolutely loved this finale and you saw no wrong whatsoever, you must have been a little like, aw, dang it, really again? When they went ahead and had Mark black out, and obviously Jake Lockley took over and had everybody down to the ground, basically dead. I can't believe they did that in the finale. Like, how many times are they gonna go ahead and do such great bloody action sequences? It was fine to do it in the first episode, but you're now doing it in the finale? I'm like, oh, come on, I really want to see Jake fight. We know he's out there, even before that dang post-credit scene. But ultimately, since we didn't really get to see how MoonKnight defeats Harrow, whenever Harrow is defeated, it's just kind of unsatisfying. It's like, well, we didn't really even see it go down. We just cut to him already being beaten. Even though Mark and Steven were basically about to die, this mysterious figure that we knew had existed but is not being shown to us saves the day. But with Mark and Steven having completed the job that Khonshu asked for, Khonshu says that he's gonna set him free where we wake up back into the mental asylum, not necessarily the afterlife like we saw in the past couple of episodes. This basically should confirm to us that Khonshu did create this construct for Mark and Steven, just like in the Jeff Lemire run of MoonKnight, so that Khonshu can keep tricking Mark and Steven into believing that he's actually a crazy person, where nothing like this has ever happened in his life and it's all just in his head. Thankfully, Mark and Steven realize this, rejecting this reality and waking up into the real world. Based on the post-credit scene, it looks like Khonshu wants to keep Mark and Steven inside his head asylum, so that in the real world, Khonshu can just use Jake Lockley to do what he needs to in fulfilling other missions. But again, that's just my theory and explanation on it. I could be completely wrong, ending the series almost the exact same way we started. And again, immediately when those credits rolled, I was like, what? No, this is a joke. This is a little funny gag you're having. They're probably going to show us a little bit more and end the season off a little better. But instead, what we're brought to here is Harrow now in a mental asylum, having gone through everything, where he was probably talking about other gods, alligators, Khonshu, big demons. Well, we see a mysterious figure getting Harrow, talking in Spanish, and wheeling him away into a limo. As soon as you see the reflection of this car, not only can you tell it's Oscar Isaac, but it's Jake Lockley. I mean, that hat basically gives it away. That's like the outfit Jake Lockley wears in the comics, and the fact that he's the driver here, I know it's not a taxi cab, but he's still the driver, it's Jake Lockley all the way. I thought it was even interesting that when we get inside, we see Khonshu in his own suit, kind of taking a page out of the book of Steven. And I gotta admit, boy is looking pretty fly. But here's where we get the confirmation for something we've been knowing for a while, and that Jake Lockley is out there, and Khonshu has been aware of him this entire time, and has kind of been the backup plan whenever Mark or Steven can't do a mission. And just like here, where Mark could not finish Harrow off, Jake Lockley comes in and shoots him point blank, ending his life. Now, I know a lot of people are having questions exactly about Jake Lockley. For one, why is he speaking Spanish? Well, while Mark Spector is of Jewish descent, we also have to remember his mother was Hispanic. So this is kind of like the Hispanic representation within Mark Spector. The Spanish that he probably learned growing up with his mom before she went abusive on him has kind of come fleshed out into Jake. And yes, MoonKnight fans who have been arguing with me every time I keep mentioning Jake Lockley is the evil persona, It does not get more obvious than this. The boy is willingly working with Khonshu against Mark and Steven and is just killing without any remorse. I know in the comics Jake Lockley really isn't like that at all, but we have already seen major changes to Mark and Steven in the MCU version, and this is what they're doing. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they took some of the stuff from Steven and gave it to Jake Lockley, because the boy is driving in what looks like a very expensive limo with the name Spectre on the back of it, which is kind of weird since this is supposed to be Jake Lockley, so why would he name the car after his alter? But getting back to my reaction to this finale, it's like, yes, it was awesome to see Jake Lockley. That was a cool post-credit scene, but it's also like something we expected and knew was coming because it was being so obviously hinted at all the way through. And I know people are like, Chris, why don't you get it? They're gonna explain this stuff in season 2. Season 2 isn't promised, y'all. I know there was this like online kerfuffle where like the official Moon Knight Twitter page changed the tweet from series finale to season finale, making people think, oh, so they will make a season 2. But I'm telling you right now, season 2 is not promised. If it was, it would have ended like the Loki series, telling you Moon Knight will return in season 2. For all we know, we might not see Moon Knight again for a very long time, because it's all going to depend on viewership and engagement, whether people were interested in this before they want to make another season. And again, I feel like that's just the fault that Marvel has sometimes, is that everything just feels like a lead up to another season instead of the ending to like a 6-episode arc. But again, just to emphasize, show as a whole, I liked it. I love Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight. I thought there was some really strong things, like particularly the last episode. The pacing on that episode was fantastic. Mark's origin story being fleshed out, learning about his back life, it all felt so well paced that it all just felt so jarring with how quickly they wanted to end things in this final episode. And again, I hate how you can't give your opinion or criticize the MCU just because they can do no wrong in some people's eyes. I still have all the faith in the world that Marvel can and will produce greatness in the coming years, but with like the exception of Loki, I just find myself saying the exact same thing over and over every finale with the MCU show. I love the season, but the finale could have been better. Let me know what you guys thought of the finale of Moon Knight. I know there'll be some people disagreeing with me, and I'm happy to hear from you, and I respect your opinion. Some people really think I say this stuff to be different or to be cool. It's like, no, my life would be way easier if I was like, this was awesome, 10 out of 10, like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Oh, I wish, my friends, but like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.